Hello, welcome to Sound and Fury Book Reviews. As usual, I am Tina. Today I'm doing a book review of Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldree. This is a cozy fantasy that came out in 2022 from Tora Macmillan. Stay tuned to the end of the video where I rank my favorite types of coffee. I adore coffee. I adore drinks in general, and food. Cheese specifically, and salmon, and eggs, and poutine. And anyway, if you watched my video on Tuesday, you'll know that I picked up this book because I listened to the prequel, Bookshops and Bone Dust, after getting it on NetGalley. I also listened to this on audiobook, and Baldree is a fun narrator. His voices are just great. I said this on my review of Bookshops, that one of my few reading regrets is that I never took the Legends and Lattes train when it first came out. So when the arc of Bookshops came out, I decided I wanted to jump on that train and without paying. And thankfully, I was denied an e-arc, but I was given the audiobook arc. Because I then enjoyed Bookshops so much, and because there was an epilogue in Bookshops that I skipped because it seemed to have spoilers for this book, I got it on Audible so I could listen to it and then listen to the epilogue of Bookshops. That was long. So, without any more frickin' preamble, the hype around Legends and Lattes is real. If you enjoy cozy books and wonder what fantasy people and creatures do when they aren't fighting wars or going on quests. So what is this book about? After a lifetime of bounties and bloodshed, Viv is hanging up her sword for the last time. The battle-weary orc aims to start fresh, opening the first ever coffee shop in the city of Thune. But old and new rivals stand in the way of success, not to mention the fact that no one has the faintest idea what coffee actually is. If Viv wants to put the blade behind her and make her plans a reality, she won't be able to go at it alone. But the true rewards of the uncharted path are the travelers you meet along the way, and whether drawn together by ancient magic, flaky pastry, or a freshly brewed cup, they may become partners, family, and something deeper than she could have ever dreamed. The characters are the point behind this book, and they are fun. Viv, as in Bookshops, is great because she goes against the expectations you have for her character of being a ready-to-rumble, quick-tempered person. Instead, she's the opposite. She's ready to settle down, and while she has lots of anxieties about it, she's willing to face them and do what she wants. We also have the other characters that show up, such as the guitar-playing kid, which reminded me of Terry Pratchett's, where is it? This one. Soul Magic, which is really, really funny. There's a cute ratkin baker, and there's the succubus, of course. The way the characters play off one another, look out for one another, and become an unlikely unit is what is a lot of fun, and it's heartwarming and sweet, and it makes you smile. You really do feel for Viv during times of trouble, and there is a part where I was actually like, oh no, out loud. I was like, oh. I was invested in her story, and because it's a cozy fantasy and not a romance, I wasn't sure whether there would be a happy ever after, but I'm not going to spoil it. It's a really good story, and the characters are really, really fun and relatable. Speaking of romance, one thing that did fall flat for me, though, with the story was the romance. There was no real passion behind it. I didn't ship the couple. It kind of felt obvious. Given I felt a similar lack of tension in Bookshops, actually, which I don't believe I talked about, I think Baldree either can't write passion or he was just trying to avoid the story focusing on that too much. I'm not sure which it is, but either way, I could have used a bit more, sexual tension. The plot is pretty basic, but that doesn't stop it from being interesting. I was more invested in Bookshops, but I think that's just because obviously books are a huge part of my life, and I also loved the kind of other aspects of the plot, the necromancer plot, that kind of thing worked more for me than the kind of subplot in this one. I've also never worked in a coffee shop or was one of those people who spent much time in them, so that also, I didn't really have that kind of background either that I think people who worked in coffee shops would really understand. I worked in a video store when I was a teenager. I should write a crazy period piece about that. There were then again, it's not like it would be a comedy. There were so many creeps when I worked there who just loved to stare at my, 17 to 21-year-old ass. And there was a stabbing in the pizza place next door. And I saw the cops arrest some people with this huge bag of Coke one time in the parking lot. And I also likely got someone who works at the post office fired because they were damaging the mail while they were supposed to be doing their job. I got stories, okay? I got stories about working at the video store. Anyway, Baldree definitely has a fun and easy to digest writing style that keeps you reading and involved, despite it being basically just about people opening a coffee shop. I loved how there was absolutely no info dumping as well. The world building is like a mesh between sword and sorcery fantasy, Warcraft, and D&D. Every fantasy race is possible, and Baldry adapts them for his purposes. He doesn't explain what a succubus is really. He doesn't explain what a ratkin is. You're just, you figure it out as you go along. In this way, it feels like a fresh fantasy world, though, despite having well-known races and settings. It's hard to explain why this doesn't feel like he's just patching things together, but it works. The novel also features queer normativity, which I loved, lots of varied characters from different backgrounds, and lots of tough, in different ways, women. Definitely, though, if you read bookshops first, you should totally check this one out. And if you haven't, I highly recommend you check out Legends and Lattes, because it is really fun, and I really, really enjoyed it. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for. What are my 4 favorite types of coffees? My absolute favorite coffee, if I had to pick one to drink for the rest of my life, is black coffee with Panama Jack, or any coffee cream liqueur, but salted caramel Panama Jack is my absolute favorite coffee cream liqueur. It's not as sweet as Bailey's, so you get a great mix of the legit coffee, the flavor, and the alcohol. It's my Sunday morning coffee. You know, we have our French press, I grind the beans that morning, we have our, special mugs. It's the best part of my day, honestly. If we wake up and have to rush off somewhere, I'm like, but my coffee. My second favorite type of coffee is iced coffee from Tim Hortons. So it's basically just sugar. No, I don't know. I never used to drink iced coffee like when I was younger, but then I got one for free one time and I was like, oh, I'll drink this. And I ended up loving it. So I understand now why people drank it so much when I was a kid. My third favorite type of coffee is cappuccino after a meal, like a fancy one at a restaurant, like one that someone makes for you with a pretty design on it. Not just like a basic one you get at like Starbucks, not like one in a nice ceramic mug. And my fourth favorite and last favorite type of coffee is burnt coffee from a gas station on a road trip. I don't know why, but it tastes like the open road to me. It tastes like freedom. That sounds so stupid, but every time I've been on a road trip, and I love road trips, it's my favorite way to see any place is to drive it. I always end up getting, because you're driving for a long time, so you need to pick me up, I always just get a cheapo, crappy gas station coffee when I'm getting my gas. And so I just associate that feeling with a road trip. And so, I can remember, the taste. It has that kind of oily taste to it. It's cheap, it's crap, but it's just, I love it. I also love a London fog when it comes to tea, and I adore matcha latte, cold or iced. I love matcha a lot, too much. My husband's like, why do you have all these weird matcha mixes at home? I'm like, I don't know, I love them. I also like Americano once in a while. Essentially, I really, really enjoy coffee. It's probably a problem. One of the best cups of coffee I ever had was actually in Puerto Rico. We toured this coffee plantation, and of course, they made us a cup of theirs that was fresh, and oh, it was fantastic. It was amazing. I wanted to drink so much of it, but they wouldn't let me. So yeah, you know what? Let me know what your favorite types of coffee are in the comments, because I'd be very, very curious to know. And let me know if you enjoy crappy gas station coffee. I bet nobody does, and that's fine. I understand it's a weird thing to enjoy. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy Legends and Lattes if you end up reading it, or if you have read it. If you don't like it, let me know why, because I thought it was fun.